Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is Monday, May the 28th, 2018, day 444 of TowerGate. It is of course Memorial Day, which is of course the day that we pay tribute to our fallen veterans of foreign wars. If you are the family member of a fallen veteran, my condolences to you. Thank you so much for the sacrifice of your loved one, and they were a true freedom fighter. And hopefully we're doing the work that they would want us to do by continuing this fight to battle the deep state and to maintain and hopefully restore the ideas of our founders of living in a free country where we have the rule of law. That's the kind of things that these guys fought and died for. So we don't have to go out and fight and die in the battlefield the way they did today. All we have to do is watch videos and pay attention. But it's the best thing that we can do to honor those who've made the ultimate sacrifice. Everybody's got to join the fight one way or another. And that's what we try to do here every day. So thank you so much everyone out there. And thank you so much for supporting the effort that we're trying to do here. Get to the truth of what happened with the deep state coup. Former CIA director Hayden says that we don't know the extent of the Russian meddling at this point. And so the comment, and he was being asked on a Sunday morning show, on a liberal Sunday morning show, what he thought about Clapper's comments, where Clapper said, yeah, well, he thinks that the Russians may have impacted the election and may have even, decided the election. And Michael Hayden is basically saying, and he's no fan of Trump's at all. Michael Hayden, no fan of Trump's whatsoever. But he basically disagrees with Clapper, and he doesn't think that the Russian meddling, he says, we just don't know. But he said, the fact of the matter is, he says, I don't know, affecting the election. Let's just look at it. He said, let's just put it this way. Trump's the president. Get over it. So that's basically his message to his pal, Clapper. Meanwhile, at the same time, while Hayden is on one liberal network, Clapper is actually on another liberal network, CNN, his favorite. And he's being asked the question why the FBI didn't go and say something to Trump or people at the head of his campaign and let them know that there might be something going on with Russians trying to infiltrate certain members of his campaign. So his response to that question, believe it or not, Clapper said, because the threat had not reached the point where the FBI would alert the campaign. They didn't tell Trump because the threat level wasn't great enough that they felt that that's what they should do. But the threat level was high enough to go get 4 surveillance warrants, including a Title I, which is the works, to do hundreds and hundreds of unmaskings, to plant at least one, if not more, spies inside the campaign, to use those letters, those national security letters, to get God knows how much more surveillance on God knows who, to run this entire operation, to be paying Fusion GPS, Christopher Steele, well, they're paying Christopher Steele, paying Mr. Halper. They were making all this massive effort, but they never said anything to Trump because, according to Clapper, the threat level wasn't high enough. Does anyone buy that? Does that make any sense to you at all? The threat level wasn't high enough to say something to Trump, but it was high enough to do all these other things. Yes, it was high enough to carry out a deep state coup, but not high enough that we would say something to Trump. You see, no one's going to believe any of this. That's why Clapper will only go on CNN or MSNBC or talk to the Wall Street or talk to the Washington Post or New York Times. That's why you won't see him anywhere near Fox or near any conservative interviewers or anything like that. Will never happen because they know that he'll blow the whistle on that kind of bullshit immediately. I mean, I just don't think people are that naive. I really don't. I mean, Maybe, yeah, there's a certain percentage of people, but the overwhelming percentage of people in this country are not that stupid. Their BS detector is a little better than that. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense whatsoever to try to make that point, that the threat level had not reached the point where the FBI would alert the campaign. But yet the threat level was high enough that they launched all this surveillance and did all this stuff. I mean, it's absurd. It's insanity. This guy is the biggest liar I've ever seen. Every day, this guy is making comments, and every day I point them out to you, and they're just absurd. This is not going to fly. Certainly the IG, whoever's looking into it, eventually will probably get a special counsel. Eventually this will find its way in front of a grand jury. Eventually Mr. Clapper is going to have to try to explain this stuff in front of a grand jury, and I'm telling you, they're not going to believe this kind of crap. He may think this will get him through the media period, but eventually he's going to have to face a grand jury. And this is not going to fly. He also says that he knew nothing about the informant. Well, that's interesting, because the last couple times he's commented on this, he's acknowledged, essentially, that there was an informant. But now he's telling us that he knew nothing about the informant. If he didn't know about the informant, then how does he know now? Because we don't know. It's alleged. There's a lot of evidence that says that there was an informant, but they've not come out and admitted that. I mean, no one in the DOJ and the FBI have not, Christopher No Shit Sherlock Ray has not come out and admitted that they had an informant. Not even to Nunes. Not to the media or anyone. They're not admitting that. It's overwhelmingly obvious they did, but they haven't admitted to it. But you got Clapper saying he knows. Again, I mean, the guy is just, he's out of his mind. And when he gets in front of a grand jury, they're just going to crucify him. Absolutely crucify him. He'll never go sit down in front of Congress. I mean, just the statements he's made, you could sit there with him in front of you in Congress, you could just destroy him, shred him. Unbelievable. The summit is back on. You know, I have high hopes for the summit. I do hope it all turns out very well. The fact of the matter is, even if it falls apart, the progress that we've made to this point is greater than anything I ever thought would have been possible in my lifetime with the North Koreans. But I'm having a very, very tough time understanding how they're going to get Kim Jong-un to give up his nuke. He may not test anymore. He may promise to observe a nuclear test ban deal where he doesn't test any more nukes. He may make concessions on developing any further advanced 2-3 stage missiles or something like that, ballistic missile program. He may make concessions there, but as far as like actually destroying all of his nukes, however many he's got, can't be a lot, but he's got to have something, you know. I mean, he paid very close attention to what happened in Libya, as well as Iraq and Afghanistan and what's going on in Syria, and he knows that Trump could make any promise he wants, but Trump's going to be around for what? At the most 8 years, and then you get a new president, and you don't know if the foreign policy changes. I mean, and you know, once you're in the nuclear club, I'm not aware of anyone else who's been told once they got there that, okay, now you got to give it up. If you can stop them before they get there, that's another thing. But once they achieve it, and once they've proven that they can have this this technology to do it, because they can always do it again. I mean, once they know how to do it, it's just a question of do they ever want to do it. You really can't stop them if they really want to do it. They now have to agree to want to do it. But to give up their nuke, will he give up the nuke? I don't see how that happens. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I am. Maybe I'm wrong. But something tells me that this negotiation, for Trump to get everything else he wants, he's going to have to accept the fact, and we are all going to have to accept the fact that they are now a nuclear power. I don't see Kim Jong-un giving up his nuke. He may agree not to test any more nukes, not to develop his missiles beyond anymore, or what have you. He would sign on to the rest of the world's, become part of the nuclear family on the globe. I think that's the way Kim Jong-un looks at this, is okay, now I'm part of the big world community of one of those nations that have a nuke. Now I'm in the nuke family, and now I'll observe all the things that all of us nuclear people who have nukes observe. That's the game I think that he's playing. I don't think he's talking about giving up his nuke. Okay, so if the whole deal is whether or not he's going to give up his nukes and just get rid of all of his nukes, I don't know if that's going to happen. I mean, that's a very high bar to set. Trump's extraordinary. I mean, he's done other things I didn't think he could ever do. If he can pull that off, he will deserve. They should name the Nobel Peace Prize the Nobel Trump Prize, because from that point on, there'll never be anyone who can negotiate anything like that at that level ever again. I mean, that's the you couldn't top that. I mean, how would you get a nuclear power to give up their nuke? I mean, that's just, I got to see that to believe it. Something else has got to give here, in my opinion. But I hope it all goes well. We'll see what comes out of it. But I would be really surprised if Kim Jong-un agrees to give up the actual nuke. I mean, that's his only form of security. Hard to say. We'll just have to watch and see. Still, it's good news the summit's back on. Assume that they're still looking at the original date of June the 12th. We will find out. We know that Trump will walk away from the deal, though. He's already proven that. Here's something else. Alexander Downer, he's not commenting anymore on anymore when you ask about, you know, anything that happened in the 2016 election. For a couple months now, he's said all he's going to say about it. Apparently, when he did that interview back about 6 months ago, when his name first came out, he did a couple interviews, and since then, the last several months, his position is, look, I've done a couple interviews, I've answered the questions, you know what happened, that's it. Not answering any more questions, not responding to any more questions about any of that stuff with the American elections 2016, Papadopoulos, Russian spies, forget it. I'm done with that. Okay, so anyway, we were getting some quotes from the last interview that he did, but we weren't getting them all. You know, just the story I was looking at put a couple of the quotes from the video in there, but not the whole thing. So I was able to find the full transcript of the full interview he did, and I'm looking at that and looking at what he's talking about, and this is pretty interesting. So I'm going to go through this. It's, you know, small stuff, but it's important down the road. Right now, it probably doesn't mean a lot, but 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, it might be very important. The specifics of what he's saying. So Downer says that he contacted the Australian government within 48 hours of the conversation with Papadopoulos, which he says was not a drunken conversation. He said it was a very short conversation. They had one drink. And as best he could tell, Papadopoulos was not inebriated, nor was he. They had one drink. That could be a lie, could be the truth, who knows, but that's what he says. So it wasn't a drunken conversation, according to him. So he says that within 48 hours of talking to Papadopoulos, that he contacted this man named Joe Hockey, Hockey, who was the Australian ambassador to the U.S. And at that point, he said that's what he did. And so we're learning, and what we've learned at this point, or been told, is that Australian ambassador, Mr. Hockey, waited approximately 2 months to pass on that information to American authorities, which would have been July of 2016, after the WikiLeaks releases. Whether or not that's true or not, we don't know. That's just what we're being told. Maybe that's not the truth. Maybe Mr. Hockey passed it on immediately, and someone sat on it for 2 months. We don't know the truth. Just what we've been told. That's not real important right now, but it may become very, very important in 3, 6, 9 months, a year, when we're actually prosecuting people. And that will be an important point in the timeline, because it goes directly to the excuse that they give us, or the alibi that they started the investigation July the 30th based on the information from the Australian ambassador about the Papadopoulos conversation. Now, if they actually got the information earlier than what they're telling us, then we know again it's a lie. And I suspect it may be. I suspect that the Australian ambassador, Mr. Hockey, may have immediately relayed that information to people, and that they may have had that information 2 months before they're admitting it. I'm really interested in getting to the bottom of that truth, because there's something, again, there's a lot of things that don't add up. A lot of things that don't add up when I go through my timeline, which, by the way, my timeline is up. I posted the link. I'll get back to that in a minute. But getting back to Downer, if you right now, a lot of things don't make sense, but when I was looking at my timeline, I thought, you know what, if this is true, if what I think is true, and they actually, this Australian ambassador, Mr. Hockey, did relay that information to authorities in the U.S. shortly after he got it, and they actually got it 2 months before when they say they did, then it would actually fit. See? This is why it could be important down the road. But something else that Downer talked about in that interview is he said that he believed in what he was talking about and what he believed Papadopoulos was talking about when they were talking about the emails, Hillary Clinton emails. He thought they were both. He thought they were both talking about the 30,000 emails that Hillary Clinton had deleted that everybody was trying to find, and that matches up with what Trump was joking about when he was in a campaign speech, and he said, yeah, maybe the Russians have got those 30,000 emails. Maybe they can give us the 30,000 emails. So Papadopoulos and Downer, according to Downer, are discussing what he believes are the 30,000 emails that Hillary Clinton deleted, not the emails that were leaked or hacked from the DNC and given to WikiLeaks. Remember, they didn't really know about the WikiLeaks hacked emails or leaked emails at the time this conversation was going on. The only emails they knew anything about were the 30,000 that everyone was talking about that the rotten Reverend Clinton had deleted while under subpoena. So the fact is, the deep staters, Brennan and Clapper and Comey and all these people, and the Democrats and the people on the left and the media, they're trying to make it look like Papadopoulos and Downer are having this conversation about the emails that were leaked or hacked from the DNC and given to WikiLeaks. But according to Mr. Downer, down the hatch Downer, he is telling us that no, the discussion they were having was in relation to the 30,000 emails that had been deleted by the rotten Reverend Clinton and alleged to have somehow fallen into the hands of the Russians because they hacked it or what have you, and then WikiLeaks got them. They weren't talking about the hacked emails. They were talking about the leaked emails or the destroyed emails that the rotten Reverend Clinton destroyed, not the ones that were leaked or hacked. So two different email issues. One, the Hillary Clinton bleach bidding and deleting and destroying 30,000 emails that were under subpoena. The other issue is the issue of emails that were hacked from the DNC or leaked from the DNC given to WikiLeaks. Papadopoulos, Downer believed that Papadopoulos and Downer himself believed that what they were discussing was the 30,000 emails that the rotten Reverend Clinton bleach bidded, deleted, got rid of, whatever. Not anything to do with the DNC ones or the WikiLeaks ones or anything like that. So that is also a very important point and drastically changes, because if that's the conversation that we're having and they weren't talking about the leaked or hacked or whatever emails from the DNC, then again, why would you need to launch an investigation into Russia-Trump emails? That's not what these two guys were talking about. They were talking about the Hillary Clinton emails. You see what I mean? These things are going to become important down the road. No one's focusing on them right now but me. At least as far as I know. Which, by the way, the timeline is up. The link is up there in the description. It is TowerGateTimeline.blogspot.com. It's a very simple, easy page. You can open up, and it's just the timeline. It's just the dates of the things that happened. There's no advertising, no videos playing on that page at all, so you don't have to worry about having to constantly have videos and ads popping up and clicking off that stuff. It's just a web page. I have no advertising, no ads or nothing like that on there, no videos playing or anything else, so it'd be real easy to open it up and look at that stuff, scroll down, shut it down, whatever. So anyway, it's there. I have not gone through. I'm going to, within the next 24 hours, go through and find the spelling errors and the grammatical errors and things like that. It's done as far as I've got 95% of the information in there. Obviously, every day I'll be adding to the information to keep it up to date, but it's there. The timeline is there, and you can start looking at it. Just click on the link, and don't worry about the spelling or grammatical errors. Within the next 24 hours, I'll fix those, and I'll have added some new information to it, and then every day I'll be adding to it to keep it up to date. So the timeline is ready to go. You can click on it. The link's in the description. Okay. It is Monday, so we have the Dumbass of the Week, and the Dumbass of the Week this week is a second-time winner. It is the demonic offspring of the Rotten Reverend Clinton and her crooked peckered husband, the serial abuser and accused rapist, William Jefferson Clinton Blythe. So Chelsea Hubble is the winner of Dumbass of the Week for the comments she's making and stating that Trump essentially has nothing in common with ordinary Americans. This is someone who cannot even publicly state the truth about who her father is. This is, of course, the demonic offspring of the Rotten Reverend Clinton and Webster Hubble. She talks about Trump's attacks on social media. The fact of the matter is, Trump does battle on social media, but no one takes more vicious attacks and has been under more vicious attack than him since the day he announced for president. He's been under vicious attack from all of Chelsea's friends. All he's doing is defending himself. When you want to talk about real abuse, real attacks, that would be her mother, who ran the bimbo eruption thing when Slick Willie was president. It was Hillary's job to shut down all the women who were coming out to talk about how Clinton had abused them, had raped them, and everything else. And she used hardcore tactics. She hired union thugs to throw bricks through their windows, leave dead cats on their doorstep, let the air out of their tires, egg their cars, call at all hours of the night, making death threats to their children, following them, walking right behind them real close up on the streets, following them in cars, doing all sorts of real hardcore thuggish techniques to try to silence and shut these women up and put them into a state of fear. The Rotten Reverend Clinton ran that whole operation. Those are attacks, Chelsea, not the sticks and stones type bullshit that goes on in social media, where Trump's just defending himself. You are disgusting and disturbing, just like your parents, all three of them. The Rotten Reverend Clinton and Slick Willie did not raise Chelsea Clinton. We know that from Wesley Pruden, who interviewed the 3 Arkansas state troopers who were around Chelsea for most of her first 7 years of life. Arkansas state troopers and nannies raised Chelsea. She has nothing in common with Americans. Chelsea Clinton has nothing in common with 99% of America. She grew up in the 1%. Given everything all her life, she's never had to work a day in her life. She draws about $1 million a year in salary and doesn't have to do any damn thing. She goes out and gives speeches that she doesn't even write. She's horrible. A horrible human being, in my opinion. She's disturbing and disgusting. Thank God she has no political skills. Absolutely embarrassing. She said that if she lived in Britain, she would show up to protest because she doesn't agree with Trump, doesn't agree with what Trump is doing to degrade what it's like to be an American. Trump is the very epitome of a real American. He grew up in the real world. He had to work. His kids work. Not her. Everything handed to her on a silver platter. She is absolutely out of touch with reality, just like her mother. She has nothing in common with any ordinary Americans compared to Trump. It's Trump that relates to Americans. It's why he won the election. It's she and her mother who are clueless about how to relate to Americans, which is a large reason why she lost the election. Clearly, she is a disturbing demon. Chelsea Clinton. Chelsea Hubble Clinton. Dumbass of the week. Well-deserved second-time winner. Unbelievable. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow with another TowerGate video, and we're going to be digging into the origins of the CIA and the British intelligence, where that all began, and how we actually started getting into this whole intelligence operation. Because that's where it all began, with Brennan, the CIA, and British intelligence. And we're going to get into that a little bit tomorrow. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you then, and you guys have a very good Memorial Day. Take care. Bye.